Hello there survivors and welcome back to another build tutorial in ARK Survival Ascended. Today I'm going to be showing you a couple of different fence designs for your base to keep it safe from other dinos coming into it, or of course if you want to be building your own Jurassic Park, these fence designs can definitely help you out. I've tried to do a combination of different types of designs and also keeping in mind whether you are or aren't using any cosmetics and whether you're using premium cosmetics or not. Some of these will work best with the bunker structure premium custom cosmetic, but as I said, there's also some designs that you don't need any skins for at all. Or they will have a small free custom cosmetic option that just makes it look a little bit better. As always, if you enjoy seeing these build tutorials and you want to see more, please make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and feel free to leave suggestions for future builds down in the comments. And for this one, there will also be templates available so you can quickly add more and more of these fence sections to your own game. If you want to find them, join my Discord, it's linked down below. Then we're going to get started with the first fence design. You want to take out a stone pillar, get it into the ground, and make it about 4 or 5 high, depending on your landscape. Then we can start expanding this with walls, and this is in case you're going to use the bunker premium custom cosmetic, because they have really good skins for making fences like this. All that you would need to do is to fill in the entirety of this wall just like this. Now, if you want to do this similar to this without using cosmetics, which you can of course do instead of walls, is just having a bunch of the railings. It's going to be quite expensive, but it would look like a nice bit of fencing that way. Although there's also free cosmetics like the chain link fence cosmetic, as well as the barbed wire that you could have on the top to make something similar like this without needing to get a premium mod. But the bunker skins definitely have the best options. What we also want to do is have some ramps here at the top, just overhanging to the outside. Then what you need to do is you take out the bunker skin itself for the pillars, just to get a little bit of a cooler stone look for them, to get that nice concrete. And then there's the Dino Park skin for these walls, and that will turn them into a fence itself. So you want to skin all of these, as well as these ramps, as you can see, turn into something quite cool. Then we want to change the variants. Normally you do this by interacting with each piece of the wall, but I always use the variant tool mod, which lets you cycle through the different variants available. This one we want to go for the clean fence, same over here. And then there is also a top section which has a little bit of these bits that point outward to both sides, which gets a really nice fence going. Now, the alternative version for this is either using the railings as I showed you, or getting the free cosmetic, which is the barbed wire and the chain link fence skin, which adds a bunch of nice options as well. Just for your reference, it would look something like this. So you have the chain link fence as well as the barbed wire on top. The barbed wire just goes on a normal railing. But yeah, there we go. That's a very easy way to build a simple yet nice looking fence. But maybe you want to go a little bit further. This is the next design I've made. It's a little bit more complicated. I think it looks really good, and you don't need any cosmetics or just free cosmetics to build this version. And of course, you could use the bunker skin again instead of this cosmetic that I've used, just to get a different look. But yeah, as I said, you don't need them necessarily. Okay, for this wall to get started, we want to place down a foundation or pillar like this, and then 2 on top of each other total. We want to have 2 walls going down. Then we can have another pillar. We can have a ceiling on top of that one. Then we should be able to get the pillars going down from each corner, as well as having the walls between them from each of these corners. So this is one end of the wall that we're going to design. We're going to have 2 pillars on top and then a thin pillar, just like that. And then it's time to build the in-between sections. So what we want to do is take out our ceilings, go up by 2, and then add 2 pillars going down from the end. We then want to take out our ceilings again, have another section like this, and then once more just like that. And that means that we can over here do the same thing as what we started with. So pillars too high, then have a ceiling there in the middle, bringing these down on the corners again. So 2 pillars, and then having the walls too high on each side too. And of course, depending on your landscape, you might have to go down a little bit deeper with the walls. You can always, of course, change that, but by principle, we need this. We can then have walls going all the way across on the front, as well as, of course, here along the back as well, to really just fill that all in. Then we want to take out some roofs, and we want to add them here to the side of those higher bits that we've made. And then if it allows us, it should hopefully allow us, if you started with the pillars high enough, we can have some slope walls underneath that. And of course, if you wanted to, you could build this entire thing on foundations as well. Just using pillars makes them a little bit more flexible about where they can be placed, of course. Then we want to basically do the same here as well. So 2 pillars on top, and then a thin pillar on top of that. Then it's time to add the fence in between. So what you want to do is you want to have some railings along the front here. And if you want, you can use the free cosmetic for the barbed wire skin on top of them to get a really cool effect. And that skin also has the chain link fence. So what we want to do then is have 1 layer of chain link fence back here before we add another layer of the barbed wires. And that is kind of what we want to do. Of course, if you're not going to use any skins, what you would do instead is just have this filled with railings all the way up. So basically you want to, instead of the wall, you would just have only the railings just like that to create a little bit of a fence-like design. But as I said, the chain link fence and the barbed wire skins are a free cosmetic. Then what we want to do is we want to also add these around the little tower section. So we're going to just go all the way around these like so. And then, believe it or not, for some extra details, we're going to take out our crossbow. Now what we want to do is we want to hit 1 zip line in here, go to the other side and hit another zip line, and that's going to be one of the lines of our fence. Then we're going to go a little bit higher and then also hit a line in there, and then we can do 1 more around this layer and hit them across. And as you can see, that will create quite a nice fence to use. And then once you skin it, I've used the barbed wire skin, as you can see, the chain link fence, and then of course having those zip lines going across to really get a cool fence effect. And then, because I wanted to keep it with free cosmetics for this design, I used the Modern Structures skins, which has a lot of options. One of them is the Modern Precast, and that's what I used on all of these other ones. But as you can see, you can clearly also just keep it the normal default stone, especially combined with the chain link fence and the barbed wire. That will still look pretty nice indeed. But even if you don't want to skin anything, you can just use the railings all the way through, and you still get a pretty nice wall design or fence design. And then, of course, if you're building fences around your base and you want to keep them safe, you might want to have some watchtowers in some places. Now, this one is designed around the bunker structures cosmetics, but you can definitely also utilize this with just normal metal and still make it look pretty cool. All right, and once again, to get this started, we will start with some pillars. We want to start with 1 just right like this, and then connected with some walls to the other side. And basically we want to have 2 walls every time before we have a pillar, and that's how we're going to get to the shape of this tower. So we want to just make it go like this, and then make this section 2 high in total. And we can actually also just fill in the rest of these layers with walls, as well as over here. And depending on the height, you might want to add a door, but it's probably a safer call just not to add anything, to be able to access it quite easily. Then we want to take out some metal beams as well, and make sure that they go all around the layer in total here. We want to take out a little quarter ceiling, add this right in the corner, take out our roof, and then go until we have the little quarter metal stairs. We can have 4 of them like this, 2 over there, 2 over there. Then what you want to do, temporarily place down a pillar, because right now we can't snap to those stairs yet. So what we do instead is go through all the snap points of the pillar, and then once you get the right one, you should be able to place it down alongside these stairs, then be able to take that away. So we get started on the little staircase, and that means, of course, we can have another little quarter ceiling right over there. So that is the first layer, quite simple and easy. We want to take 2 more pillars, raise them up on all of these corners, just like that. We can take out our beams as well and connect up these different sections for a new section of the entire tower. Over here we want to take our slope walls, go up like this, and we want to have one there in the corner as well. Probably want to keep them the same way around though. That just looks a little bit cleaner. Same thing over here. Basically the same shape. And we're just going to take that all the way around pretty much. Just to get a nice and cool looking design in there for the side walls. And then of course that means we also want to continue a little staircase up, because that's going to just make your life a lot easier. So 2 more of these little quarter stairs for another ceiling right there. Then we have 2 more quarter stairs right up there for another little ceiling to get up to the next layer. Then we want to have 1 more layer that is pretty much the same thing. So 2 more pillars going up from all the corners, and then connecting them up with beams in between them, just like so. And we want to continue these sloped walls as well. So we're going to do the same kind of pattern, which should look like they're just continuing from the previous layer. That's kind of the idea behind it all. There we go, and just bring that all the way around again, and you can see it's kind of starting to form a nice pattern already. Then of course we want to continue this. We actually also want to make sure that we add in the railings over here. So the same principle, we snap the pillar temporarily, go through the snap points until we get the right ones, then we can take it out. And then over here of course we can continue the staircase upward, just like that. I really like they've added these smaller stairs. It's very nicer to make a compact staircase like this. So there we go, that's the next level. We can actually have another pillar here, of course, so we can snap all railings against them again until we get the right one. There we go. Then we can take that out, and we should have reached the next level. Actually, these beams here at the top, we don't need them if this is going to be your top layer. So we can pick those up and reuse them for something else. Instead, we can take out our quarter ceilings and go around the outside of this entire thing to make a little overhang. Just like that. We also want to fill in these, go around the staircase, and then we can use some full ceilings for these other 2, just like that. We can of course have some railings around this entryway. There we go. And we can have some railings around this entire platform. Of course, we want to keep it all nice and safe, so we go around just like that. So no, not like that, just like that. There we go. And if you want to have some extra detail, you want to have some half railings just underneath these, basically as some smaller supports. There we go. Then we take out our thin pillars. We want to add them on each of the corners. There we go. And a half thin pillar on top of that too. There we are. Then we want to take out our ramps. We can have ramps going from one to the next corner if it lets us snap it. Sometimes it doesn't behave. You can always place a temporary wall to snap to instead. Then of course we also want to make sure that we go around these corner sections to connect up the different parts, which now should allow us to basically fill in these last ones. We also want to make sure we have the middle section of the next layer in place already. There we go. Then of course some more corners to get that look complete. There we are. And of course just a normal ceiling right at the top in the middle. And if you want to make a little like satellite radio tower connection on top of it, what you do is you have a normal pillar and then you have a thin pillar. And of course, especially with the bunker skins, you can have a deco box, medium deco box, change it into the satellite dish, one of the variants, and then one of the other variants is actually these antennas. So there's definitely a lot of options to make it look a little bit nicer. The majority of this is actually skins with the construction skin from the bunker structures. So if we go to the bunker structures, there's this one. That's the one you would need. That turns it into these beautiful textures. So that's what you would use for most of this. And then just the bottom layer, so the bottom walls, you want to use the Dino Park skins and change them to at least the clean variant for the second half, of course, just to get a little bit of a nicer look. And then you kind of want to just apply the construction skin to everything to make it look nice. But you can see even without the skins, it still looks pretty cool. If you want to have a bit similar effect to this, instead of using full walls at the bottom, of course, you could also use railings to still get a little bit of that, cooler effect that looks a little bit more protected. But there we go. That is how you build a very easy watchtower for your Jurassic Park, or of course, just for your nicely fenced out dino breeding or dino pen area. Then the final wall is used with these bunker structure cosmetics. They are really cool. I really love them, especially for doing Jurassic inspired builds. As you can see, there's actually signs in there for the deco boxes, warning signs, the danger bunker sign, which is really, really cool. And even these ones for the smaller deco boxes, some cameras to really spice up your decorations. But also just the walls, the textures, and of course the Dino Park skins for these fences is just a really nice addition in general. So let's show you how to build this one. So to get started on this last wall design, we want to once again place down a pillar and make that go 5 high in total, just like this. Then we want to start here with a wall. We can also make that 5 high and add a slope wall right at the top, which means we can have pillars going all the way down the back, which is 1 higher than the previous pillar, of course. Then we actually want to use a roof piece right up there, and we can start filling in the wall here at the front as well as the wall here at the back, making sure it faces the right way. There we go. Then we can of course add the pillars in for this side of the wall. There we go. And of course we can fill in the wall all the way across here and then have the slope wall at the top. Then after 2 pillars, we want to have this slope wall. We want to do that for both sides. And of course, we want to make sure that the slope wall is connected to it. And then the normal walls all the way rounded to create some supports for these pillars, the sides of this entire wall section. Then over here, we want to bring this across, have pillars after the first one. Only actually on the front we need them. Then 2 more ceilings, another pillar here on the front, and then 2 more before we go into this one. And here, once again, we want to go up 5 in total. There we are. We want to also fill in the side here with these 5. Go into the sloped wall, bring out a roof, and then of course, follow the other shape down on the other side. There we go. We can also now place in the pillar here in the front as well as here along the back. We want to do the same thing here on this side. Fill it all in with walls along that side too. Same over here. Fill in the walls. We can actually also fill in the wall sections over here at the front all the way across. And then here at the back, we want to take out our roofs again and then make sure that this is completely filled in like that. Of course, over here on the side, we also want to add in some support. So basically the same as the other one. After the second pillar, on the height of the second pillar, is where we want to add this. We want to then have a walls Underneath it, of course, having our roof coming from that. And then here at the front, the final roof, of course, to go into that whole thing. That already kind of forms the framework for what the fence is going to be. And this we would also change to the bunker skin so that they get the nice concrete bunker look. Then we're going to add in the actual fence itself. We want to make it 3 high with our walls. I'm using metal just to show the difference. If you wanted to, and you want to pull this off without any skins, instead of using walls, once again, you probably want to use railings instead to still get a similar look without needing any cosmetics. But with these bunker ones, it's going to look way cooler. Then here at the top, we want to make sure that we have these ramps sticking out along the top here. Just like so. And then we want to do the same thing over here. All the way across the front. And then, yeah, these are going to have the Dino Park skin. Same thing over here. And then, of course, these walls, you also want to change into these skins. You want to use the variants, though. So you want to have the second variant and the third variant at the top to fill in the rest of the fence. And once you do all that, it should turn into something that looks like this. Then you can, of course, use the deco boxes. Again, medium deco boxes should get you all these signs with the variants that are available. And then this one is on the smaller signs and gives you some little cameras to hang around your park and make sure everything is nice and secure. But that is how you build this wall section, and that is how you build a bunch of different wall designs, as well as some nice guard towers or watchtowers to keep your team safe, or to build your own Jurassic Park or Jurassic World. If you enjoyed this build tutorial, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and of course feel free to leave suggestions for future builds, maybe specifically Jurassic Park ones or anything in general, down in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Goodbye.